Hey, what's up? I'm Mark Ryan, this is Super Review, and on this first look video, we're going to take a look at the Apple AirPods Max, which I'm sure you've heard of by now. These things were announced just a few days ago, maybe about a week ago. And this is Apple's, basically their answer to the Sony XM3s, the Sony XM4s, the Bose noise canceling 700s, etc. And you might be thinking that Apple kind of already has an answer to the Sonys, like they've got Beats. So what are they going to do with the AirPods Max that they can't do with Beats? Well, for starters, they're going to charge you $550, which maybe they could do with Beats, but they can definitely do it with an Apple logo on it. And for $550, what are they going to give you? Well, let's see. Based on their website, there's a couple of pretty interesting claims. So one is they talk a lot about this computational audio, and I'm pretty interested to get into exactly what that means for music. Are they going to do for music what computational photography has done for like smartphone photography? Or is it just going to be a little bit more simple than that? I don't know. I'm interested to find that out. Some other interesting claims, of course, there's the typical Apple ease of use, which, you know, definitely commands some premium. But the other thing is they actually have the words high fidelity sound on their website. And this is primarily an audio review channel, so I'm very interested to put that to the test. Now, full disclosure, this is not going to be a review video. This is just going to be an unboxing and first impression, but I do think in the span of this video, I'm going to be able to answer a very important question that I think a lot of people probably have, and that's going to be the question, do the AirPods Max sound better than the Sony XM3s? So I have previously on this channel reviewed the Sony XM3s. I know it's a very, very popular headphone, especially on YouTube. A lot of people that maybe aren't into hi-fi think that that is sort of the epitome of audio quality. And unfortunately, I don't think the XM3 is a very good sounding headphone, especially for music, which is primarily what I use headphones for. And I do have a feeling that within about 10 seconds of listening, I will be able to figure out if I think the AirPods Max sound better than the XM3s. That's my challenge. So again, this is not a review. This is just kind of a first impressions and unboxing, but there will be a review coming in the future. So if you're interested in that full review, please subscribe to the channel and I guess ding the bell if you want to be part of the next live stream, which leads me into the last point that I'll make before we start opening this thing up. This is a live stream. So if you've got any questions about the AirPods Max, the XM3s, or anything else that we talk about today, go ahead and leave those questions in the live chat, and at the end of the unboxing and the initial impressions, we'll have a little conversation with you folks in the live chat. But for now, let's take a look at the Apple AirPods Max. All right, I can't spin them on this table. This is actually kind of a large box, but typical Apple AirPod, well, typical Apple packaging generally. We can do a quick tour, probably not gonna find out a ton about them. I mean, you got an Apple logo on the front. You do have a picture of it in its very curious case here on the back. They call it out as a smart case, but actually a little bit of spoilers down here in terms of what to expect inside the box. It's gonna be the AirPods and a smart case, and probably not much else, but otherwise, yeah, I don't think we're gonna find out anything here with the box, so let's go ahead and crack it open. And in typical Apple fashion, they make it easy to do without the use of a knife, which I appreciate. Put this little flap over here, a little quick release. Kind of reminds me of like the butt flap on a pair of pajamas, old school timey pajamas. Slide that thing open and okay, that's an interesting presentation. So just off the bat, you see the AirPods sitting here in their smart case. As you can see, I went with the mint green color. Frankly, you know, my wife is probably going to be the biggest user of the AirPods Max in my family, and she was interested in the green, so I went ahead and got the green for her. Let's go ahead and put this aside real quickly, see what else is inside this box. Of course, you get instruction manual. Is there no stickers? No Apple stickers. Interesting. You do get a charging cable, no charging brick, which probably not surprising if you've followed the recent iPhone package inclusions, but you do get its USB-C to a lightning port charger, which, you know, unsurprisingly, the AirPods Max are going to still charge with a lightning plug rather than with USB-C. Maybe that is surprising, I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the AirPods Max themselves sitting here in this case, and this is just off the bat kind of a weird form factor. I mean, I guess it's portable enough, but it's a little strange, but it is covered in paper, so we might as well go ahead and unwrap it so we can enjoy the full color of the mint green AirPods Max. I'm confused by this paper. It's a bit large. Let's go ahead and pull in the Sony XM3s for comparison. You can just kind of see side by side. The AirPods Max are a little bit on the large side, and that's not even considering the fact that these things can fold up like that, but I don't know. The outer cover here, that smells weird actually. I didn't expect that to smell so weird. It's a bit of an odd smell. It feels kind of rubbery. It does not feel like a leather, although it does have a nice soft material here on the inside. Let's go ahead and remove these things from the case, and then you get the case itself just kind of flopping around. I do enjoy the magnet. I'll give them that. Then you get the AirPods Max here. And first impression is these actually aren't that heavy. I was kind of expecting the AirPods Max to feel pretty heavy, and I think versus something like the Sony XM3s, these definitely feel significantly lighter. But I was a little concerned about the weight of these, given just the specs that they have on the website and looking at them. But I feel like in the hand, it doesn't actually feel that heavy. We do get these odd little paper cups stuffed inside the ear cups. But otherwise, that is the extent of the unboxing experience here of the AirPods Max. And what do you think? I gotta say, build quality wise, it feels nice. Materials are pretty solid here. Of course, you've got these all aluminum metal outers, which appears to be metal all the way up until the inside here of the removable ear pads. The ear pads do remove with magnets, which I think is cool. If you're into headphones, you're probably used to having to occasionally replace the ear pads in your headphones, so it's nice that they've made a replaceable, disposable, consumable part very easy to remove and swap like that. And you know, the AirPods, I did check on Apple's website. They sell these replacement pads for about 60 bucks. I think it was 60, maybe 70 bucks, which is a little bit on the pricey side, but frankly, for Apple standard, is actually not that bad, at least in my opinion. But yeah, that is the build. Let's see up here, we've got sort of a rubberized coating around the frame of the headband. But it does feel nice and sturdy. I imagine this is stainless steel or something underneath this rubberized coating. I'm not gonna cut it open to figure it out, but that would be my suspicion. And then you do get this very interesting sort of 3D mesh material, which I'm curious to see how that feels on my head, and maybe I'll go ahead and do that right now, or maybe we'll finish this tour of the hardware. There are, you might have noticed inside the ear cups, indicators of which ear this is. So this is for the right ear, that one is for the left ear. It's a little bit tough to tell, but I imagine you'll probably get used to the way that these things unfold. Curiously, and this is actually, this is not my preference, is that when the ear cups fold flat, or when you fold them, when you rotate the ear cups out, that having the ear cups, well, we'll talk about this when I put it on my body. It's a little bit hard to explain right now. On the right side, there doesn't seem to be, or sorry, on the left side, doesn't seem to be much in the way of buttons. There is what looks like some sort of vent, maybe a microphone, probably a microphone related to the active noise canceling. But then over here on the right side, you get that same thing, as well as you get a single button up here on the front, as well as the digital crown. For fans of the Apple Watch, be very familiar with this, and it's interesting that just spinning it right now, there are no clicks. I kind of expected this thing to click. There's no clicks. It just rotates freely. It does click in and out, but it doesn't like click with each rotation. And then I'm probably already causing all kinds of confusion on my phone while I try to pair this thing. So let's go ahead and see how quickly, easily this thing pairs with my iPhone mini. I've probably already thrown everything out of whack. Apple, hit me up. It's not working. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do a quick fit test and see if my phone decides to start pairing with these things or if it stays confused. That is the Apple AirPods Max. Let's see, this is it at its smallest size, which is obviously too small for my head, but I think that's actually kind of important to know. My head's a little bit on the large side, maybe a medium large size head, just for reference. And I'll throw these things on and immediately the noise canceling turns on. And it seems pretty effective. I'm not gonna be able to tell you right now whether or not the noise canceling is better than the Sony XM3s, but I can tell you that I'm having a hard time hearing myself, and that's uncomfortable to talk while on video, but generally I'd say that the fit is pretty decent. Unfortunately, I'm still not getting them to pair with my phone, which is not a good look, Apple. Comfort-wise, it's pretty good. We have this 3D mesh strap up here on the top. Seems to be more or less evenly applying its weight across about that large of a stretch of the top of my head. The top of my head is not pushing this thing up in all places evenly, but it does push up kind of roughly right around there. We'll see if that turns out to be comfortable in the long term, but generally seems like a pretty solid build on this headphone. Definitely build quality wise, material wise, this thing feels nicer than something like the Sony XM3s, which are a very comfortable headphone. I'll give them that, but they're not the nicest materials. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to pair to my phone. Apple, this is embarrassing. Do I need to put them in the case? Do I need to read the instructions live on video? Because that's going to be really, really uncomfortable if I have to read instructions. Pull it out of the case. There we go. Check for update. Interesting. Well, this is a big bummer. Did not expect that. Okay. Well, folks, I lied to you. I'm not going to be able to give you that impression of these things until these things pair to my phone. Let's see if I can get them to pair to my computer real quickly, because I really do want to give you that impression how these things sound. And if my phone's not going to be able to do it, that is no bueno. Well, folks, this has been an Apple fail. Maybe it's a me fail. Maybe I should have known that I needed to update my phone before I could use my headphones. That seems weird, but all right, that's been the first look as far as I'm going to be able to tell you about the Apple AirPods Max. Like I mentioned, this is just the first impressions. It's not a full review. If you want to hang around for the full review, please, that was the word, subscribe to the channel, ding the bell so YouTube lets you know when I'm live next time. And in that video, I will definitely tell you how the AirPods Max sound. And I'll tell you how they compare to the Sony XM3s. And I'm really disappointed that I'm not able to tell you that right now, but that'll be in the next video. Please ding the bell, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, even if this was disappointing. And I'll see you on the next super review. All right, folks in the live chat, let's see. I'm gonna keep trying to get this thing to pair. I have a feeling this update, this software update is gonna take a while, but that is not fun. As we can see, let's see, well, let's go ahead and punch in on this thing while it's updating. It's interesting that the update notes do actually call out, this includes support for Apple Fitness Plus and AirPods Max. Did not expect that I would need to do a software update on my phone in order to use my new headphones. Interesting. All right, let me catch up with the live chat a little bit. Thank you guys for hanging out. Sorry for that bummer, but we're gonna let that thing update in the background, and there's a chance we'll still get that listening test going on. But for now, let's just go ahead and have a little conversation. So, Unbox Warehouse, Weston, Juarez Amir, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream. Pedro Ferreira saying you like my shirt. I appreciate that. You like the shirt. You can actually, if you're interested, I do actually have this shirt available in the Super Review merch store, which I will have linked in a pinned comment below this video. There's a link to my merch store as well as a Discord server if you want to ever chat about audio stuff. If you ever want to get some early impressions of the AirPods, I will actually have a room in that Discord server dedicated to the AirPods Max and all discussion about them. Dark Black, I see you're calling these things out as a $500 purse. Now I'm gonna say they are gonna be a not very good purse because this is the case. It's a bit holey. I don't think it would hold much except for the AirPods. Now, does it look a little silly to carry this thing around? Let's go ahead and, is that, I don't know. I'm not too worried about that personally. It's a little bit blingy. I think is probably my biggest issue. I'm not a big fan of bling generally, and you do have those chrome accents here. It might actually, to my taste, look a little bit nicer without that. But I'm not too worried about it looking like a purse, or not too worried about it looking like a bra. Maybe I am. It's a little weird. Let's see what else we got going on in the live chat. How's your evening going? It is almost 6:30 at night here. Wrapping up the day. Thought I'd be listening to the Apple AirPods Max, and we will be in a minute, but unfortunately not as quickly as I hoped. So Pedro Ferreira, I think you're asking an interesting question. Let's say the AirPods Max do sound better than the Sony XM3s. Your question is, do they sound $280 better? And I think that's an interesting question, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I really dislike the way that the Sony XM3s sound. So if something like the Sony XM3 was a thing I needed in my life in terms of a Bluetooth noise canceling headphone, I'm on, let's say, flights all the time, and I want high quality music listening, the Sony XM3s, in my opinion, just really are very, very far from that. So if $300 is sort of like the baseline minimum that you have to pay in order to get into Bluetooth noise canceling, an extra $280 to make that sound good doesn't sound that crazy. I mean, there's definitely a lot of other ways you can spend more money on headphones than these. 550 bucks definitely seems like a lot, and most people are not used to spending that kind of money on a headphone, but you can definitely spend more, and people have. Maybe I have. But also for 550 bucks, you can get a pretty good sounding wired headphone. Not exactly the same thing, I know, but Dark Black saying cost KSC75 for the win. Yeah, that is a thing. Wow, this will really discredit myself amongst all of the lay people that have landed in this video. Right? If you're watching this and you're not an audiophile, you're not an audio nerd, this might discredit me, but it should actually do the opposite. $15 cost KSC75s will make the $350 Sony XM3s and XM4s sound pretty bad. Rodrigo Silva asking how do they compare to the Sennheiser HD600s? Obviously, I don't know at this point, but that is an interesting question to answer. I think that, again, for 550 bucks, expectations should be pretty high related to the audio quality of the AirPods Pro. Let's unlock my phone, see where it's at. It's preparing update. I don't know how long that's gonna take. Here we go. iPhone update status. Hopefully that will advance well enough, but we've got more live stream questions to get to. Clayfacer asking, WTF is that headband? Well, it's definitely a unique headband. I think it's kind of strange looking, frankly, but I can see what they're going for, and I can see why something like this might be the solution you land on as a product designer. Because with a product like this, you want it to be comfortable. And headphones, you know, if you spend a lot of time wearing headphones, there's different ways to do headbands, and a lot of the times, you know, especially with kind of mainstreamy products, like they just don't put a lot of thought into the comfort, and you can develop sort of hot spots across the top of your head. In fact, so I've got the Bose Noise Canceling 700 sitting here. That was actually an issue that I had with this headphone, is that the headband on this thing is relatively narrow in terms of where it fits on your head. So this little stretch right here across the top of my head would create a hot spot kind of like right here in the middle of my dome. I don't know, there's something to the arch of this that just doesn't match the arch of my skull. And because of that, I get that hot spot. Now with something like this is going to be a lot more flexible and mold to the shape of my skull. I can't tell you right now if it actually worked and if this thing is comfortable over hours of listening, but I do have a feeling it's not going to have the same problem that the Bose had. Phone update watch, 2020. It's still preparing update. All right, next question. Thank you for that question, by the way. Good question. What the F? Weston, you're asking $60 to replace earpads. Yes, and again, I think it's worth calling out that that is actually not ridiculous. You know, I've got some headphones like here, the Sennheiser HD600. That's my favorite headphone. It's a $300 headphone, and I think replacing pads on that is going to cost you about $50. And they're pretty basic pads. Like there's not much going on. Here with the AirPods Max, okay, they are still just ear pads, but at least they've got, you know, they've got some Apple magic going on. They've got these cool magnets. I think the structure of this is a little bit more complex than your average ear pad. And yeah, really, I feel like, frankly, $60 is not a terrible price for replacement pads on a headphone like this. It might seem crazy if you're not used to replacing your ear pads, and frankly, most people probably don't ever replace the ear pads on their headphones, which is kind of gross, but if you're into audio and you've owned a pair of headphones for 10 years or so, you've probably had to replace the ear pads, and $60 doesn't seem that crazy to me. So DNTRC, you're saying I can appreciate the R&D that went into these, the AirPods Max, but for that price, I can get the HD600s, a pair of Grados. Yeah, so $550, you can get a lot of pretty good audio stuff. I mean, a product like this aims to do a bunch of different things, right? It is your Bluetooth noise canceling, have a phone call, block out the noise of airplane engine if we ever fly again, watch movies in probably, and ostensibly listen to music. It does a lot of things that, you know, you could do on a Sennheiser HD600, but definitely a lot of things that you couldn't do on an HD600. So I think that comparing apples to apples doesn't quite apply, and it's not quite fair, but at the same time, for $550, expectations are pretty high in terms of music quality. So this thing better sound pretty good. It better sound better than the Sony XM3s. Will it sound as good as the HD600? I don't think that's my standard. I think if these things sounded as good as, let's say these things sounded as good as Fidelio X2s, I would be like, okay, that's actually a pretty good sounding Bluetooth headphone. But I feel like even that's kind of a high bar for a Bluetooth noise canceling headphone, but we'll see. Phone check. Preparing update. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a chance this might not happen. I just want to prepare you for it. Pedro Ferreira is saying, well, if you want an actual answer, one is that well-known headphone company has been around for 20 years. The other is a wireless headphone made by a brand known for overpriced stuff. Well, I know the Apple tax is kind of a meme, right? But I gotta be honest, I actually generally don't have much of an issue with Apple's pricing. Yes, it does tend to be on the upper end of products, but generally, like, they're making nice products for that, right? They just basically, they don't really offer budget product, like they don't offer budget products and pricing, but they also don't make a product that really fits the budget market, right? Like, so let's say I just recently got the Apple MacBook Air. You might say that at $1,000 for a notebook computer like that it's expensive. But if you look at what it is, it's a very well-built notebook computer. And if you look at Windows alternatives that try to do the same thing, they're all priced about the same. So I feel like, you know, if you look at headphones that have these sorts of features, well, there might not be any. We'll see that kind of stuff when I get into the full evaluation. But if you look into a headphone with similar features, Bluetooth, noise canceling, with similar build, you're looking at, I don't know, like Bang & Olufsen or something like that, and you can pay like $800 for a pair of those. So $550, again, of course, it is a very expensive headphone. But is it like overpriced? Given like the competition that it's up against, I don't know that I would necessarily say that it's overpriced. We'll see when we talk about the audio quality, when we get to evaluate that audio quality, if it sounds like a $500 headphone. But given what I'm feeling here in my hands and on my head, it might not be overpriced. Update, still preparing update. I see Dijo, I'm gonna have trouble with that one. Dijo Tama are asking, are those materials not heavier than plastic? This is definitely a heavier headphone than the Sony XM3s. Let's go back to this table so I can balance them in my hands and give you an approximation of what these things feel like in the hands. Yes, the AirPods Max are heavier than the XM3s by a not insignificant amount. I was actually looking up the numbers, the specs earlier this morning, and I've kind of already forgotten them. But I want to say that the AirPods Max are almost about 50% heavier than the XM3s, right? Because you've got basically metal all around versus a plastic all around headphone. But I mean, I've worn some pretty heavy headphones, some stuff like, you know, the Odyssey LCD2 Classic, and this is not nearly as heavy as something like that. And that, okay, maybe the Odyssey headphones are a little bit on the too heavy side, so these things shouldn't be that heavy, but, you know, I don't know. I don't think the weight of this thing is necessarily going to be a problem. I can't tell you right now because I'm not wearing it. I need to wear it for like a couple of hours at a time to really know if the weight will be a problem, but my initial thought is I'm not too worried about it. Pedro is saying 1 AirPod Max or 5 Grados. Well, it depends on how many sets of ears you've got. I don't know what you would do with 5 Grados. Always forever alone, Marcus, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream. Just catching up with the live chat here. Apologies for the downtime. Oh, Wara Samir, you're actually asking an interesting question. Is it weatherproof? I haven't seen anything on Apple's website about weatherproofness. I know Apple typically doesn't make like IPX claims on their products, and I'm not sure exactly why, or at least on like their audio products. I don't believe the AirPods Pro or the AirPods have IPX water resistant ratings or anything like that, but I do also know that there are stories of people having accidentally swallowed an AirPod and then it coming out the other end and still being functional. So I've heard people like actually dropping their AirPods accidentally in the wash and having them still function at the end of it. So I would be surprised if this thing is particularly sensitive to weather, but I also wouldn't necessarily wear it out in the rain because these ear pads are, well, they're a cloth of sort, and I have a feeling they might soak up moisture like that. Although interestingly, the material on these ear pads is kind of unique. It's almost got the feeling of like an outdoor furniture. I'm not going to try soaking it in water, but there's a chance that that is actually made to be water resistant. Interesting. Is that a use case you have? Do you wear your headphones out in the rain? All right, iPhone update 2020. We're verifying the update. I don't know if that means we're close or not. Rigrev, I see you're asking about the sound stage of this headphone. Just full disclosure, I have not yet heard this thing. Unfortunately, still waiting for my phone to update so that I can use them. Not a thing I have to say for most Bluetooth headphones, frankly, but this is not a full review. Soundstage is kind of the sort of evaluation I probably won't get to in my initial impression, but we'll see. Damago, hey, what's up? Welcome back. You're back from a 6-month hiatus. Nice to see you again. Henry Laris here asking about how these things might compare to the 560S, another Sennheiser headphone. I think those are all good questions. You know, I think, again, 550 bucks, there's going to be some pretty big expectations on how these things sound. I don't know that I personally have a lot of hope for them, to be honest. I think that they're going to sound good, and I think that they will sound better than the Sony XM4s or XM3s. I don't think they're going to sound better than the Sennheiser HD600s, my favorite headphone here. And something like the Sennheiser 560S, I don't know that they're even going to sound necessarily that good. It's like a $200 headphone. But if they sound anywhere close to that good, that'd be pretty promising, to be honest, because having no wires, obviously having noise canceling, I have a feeling there's just going to be a lot of conveniences Bluetooth-wise if you're in the Apple ecosystem. That'll be pretty convenient to have, but will they sound that good? I don't know. And the Joe Tama, you're asking, is it really not possible to make these things fold up? The answer is yes. There is, so XM3s, right? They fold up like this, which is pretty nice. The Apple AirPods Max, they fold up like this, and that is it. There is zero sort of in-out rotation. You could, I guess, fold them over like this, and maybe that's a little bit more compact, but there really is no significant folding mechanism on this headphone. Actually, one thing real quick I want to talk about. So, around the neck wear. Sorry, that's probably bumping up against the microphone, but around the neck, that is not the most comfortable. Let's leave that in this position. Okay, that's not too bad. That's actually not bad. Kate, I see you're asking about the drop THX Pandas. I do actually believe I've got a pair of those on the way for reviews. So I'm going to start reviewing and evaluating the AirPods Max. I'll probably spend at least a minimum of a week with this headphone. And hopefully in that time, I'll get the drop Pandas so I can do a little bit of a comparison, because I think that's one of the few Bluetooth headphones that really is targeted at an audiophile community or audiophile audience. The Bose noise canceling 700s, sorry, they're not. Sony XM3s, I'm sorry, they are not targeted at audio nerds. They're targeted at people that want a nice, convenient headphone, but they are not targeted at audio nerds. The Pandas, they're definitely targeted at audio nerds like me. And the AirPods Max, are they targeted at audio nerds like me? We'll find out. And iPhone update 2020. It's moving, it's happening. Unfortunately, we're still not there. This feels like a ploy to just drive up my watch time minutes. I swear it's not. Catching up with the live chat. Apologize for the downtime. Scott Koch asking me to put them on just as another demonstration of what they look like on the head of a human being. I gotta say it's pretty comfortable. I don't know that aesthetically I'm a big fan of it, to be honest. I mean, I think here in the hand, it's a bit of an odd looking headphone. It's not terrible. I'm watching myself here on camera. These are just kind of big, large slabs. Like, I don't know, there's something almost like dessert-like about it. It almost looks like macaroons or something like that, very large macaroons. Aesthetically, I don't know about this headphone, to be honest. I kind of think the XM3s are a little bit cooler looking. Dimas here asking if I like the Sony XM2s. I haven't heard the Sony XM2s. My understanding is that all the XM2, XM3, XM4s all kind of sound roughly the same. I think the newer XM4s have increased the upper mid-range in the frequency response a little bit, which I think will be a positive to the sound quality of that headphone. But I don't think it's going to solve my biggest problems with the XM3. And my biggest problems are too much bass. And like, maybe I shouldn't say too much bass, because I know a lot of people want a lot of bass, and sometimes you can have a lot of bass and still have a good sounding headphone. So maybe it's not just that it's too much bass, but it's bad bass. It's just like boomy and muffly and soft and just not great bass. So those are my biggest problems. And I mean, the other things that kind of fall out from that is that it doesn't have, I don't think, very strong image or sort of audio image separation. There's the distinction between instruments is not especially strong. Soundstage is not great, which that's fine. But mostly it just comes down to the lack of definition in the audio of the XM3s. Maybe they're fine for listening to YouTube videos, for watching movies and stuff like that. But for music, again, a $15 pair of costs sounds way, way better. I'm not exaggerating either. Liam, you're making an interesting point here. You say if the AirPods Max are a hit in sales, it's going to increase the price for the whole audio market, just like Apple did with phones. That might be bad news for audiophiles. That's an interesting point. You know, so we talked about the MacBook Air, right? And it being a $1,000 sort of netbook back in the day, right? Nobody was making $1,000 netbooks back then, for good reason. No one should have bought a $1,000 netbook. But Apple made this new product, which is ultra thin and light in a way that no one had ever done before in terms of build quality, materials, and just like the overall package. And they showed that there was a market for a $1,000 netbook. Nobody's really, I mean, there's Bang & Olufsen and probably some other high-end companies making $500 plus Bluetooth noise canceling headphones, but for the most part, most manufacturers are staying under $400. Bose, I think, is $400 for the 700s, but they're staying under $400. I think you make a good point in that if these things are successful, there's a good chance that Sony and Bose are going to try and come out with a competitor to the AirPods Max. And it's not going to be the XM5s and the Bose 800s. It's going to be something a little bit more premium, right? They're going to go with an all-metal build like the AirPods Max. And they're probably going to have to go for some other additional features like computational audio. Uh-oh, we might be in business here. All right, how do I get these things to pair? Do I hit a button? I'm gonna hit a button. I got nothing. I'm gonna hit this button. Oh my. I'm pressing and holding the noise control button. What do you want from me? Am I not pressing and holding the button? Apple? This is not a good look. This is my first experience with the Apple AirPods Max. And I've had to update my phone. And I've had to press and hold this button for an amount of time that feels unreasonable. And I feel like it's not working. Oh, there we go. Now we're connecting. Do they have to be flat? Is that the thing? They didn't tell me I had to be flat. I'm skipping the intro. Not now. Because what we want to do is we want to hear how these things sound. So, actually, got a little ba-bong to let me know that these things are in fact connected to my phone. Unsurprisingly. Okay, all right, we're done. We finally connected these things to my phone. And I wanted to show you the test that I plan on doing. So, I should have actually linked to this. I will add this link in the description after this live stream, but that is not what I wanted to listen to. There is an album, this album right here, Eddie Palmieri's Mi Luz Mayor. This entire album is mastered beautifully. Now, I don't know if Latin music is necessarily your favorite your favorite genre, but give this album a try because this album, again, mastered beautifully, sounds phenomenal. Just a lot of play and different instruments. Its sound stage is really significantly large, great imaging. You get a nice little underlying bass, sort of boom, boom, boom in most of the tracks, but really just a treat for treble and mid-range lovers. So this is exactly the kind of track that, frankly, the Sony XM3s are not very good at. In fact, I spent some time earlier today listening to these things just to remind myself what this song sounded like on these headphones, and I gotta say it was very mediocre. But now we're gonna give it a try here on the Apple AirPods Max. And if you're playing along at home, the track that I'm gonna use is this one right here. Arriba cumbiaremos. I don't know what they're singing about, but it sounds great. And in about 10 seconds, I'm gonna be able to tell you if these things sound better than the Sony XM3. So here goes. A little bit. They sound a little bit better. That was it. That was all I needed to be able to tell you that these things sound a lot better than the Sony XM3s, which I gotta be honest, the way that was a good first impression. And now that is the kind of track to give a good first impression of a headphone. It's definitely not enough to give a full evaluation of a headphone like this, but that is definitely enough to give a very, very strong first impression. Again, if you've heard the Sony XM3s and you think that that's a great sounding headphone, this thing will blow your socks off. Now, is it gonna blow your socks off versus something like Sennheiser HD600s? I don't know about that. That's gonna take a lot more testing than that, but within that 10 seconds of listening, I'm definitively able to tell you that this sounds better than the XM3s. Not even close. So that's a good first impression. Let's go ahead and spend a little more time in the live chat. I appreciate y'all sticking with me through the Apple iPhone update woes. That was not exactly how I was hoping for that to go, but I appreciate you sticking with me, and we did figure out an answer to the question. Do these sound better than the Sony XM3s? Yes. It's not even close. All right. I gotta catch up with this live chat. I did see there was a super chat that came through. Let me go ahead and jump ahead to that. Rockford Media, I'm certainly enjoying mine. Oh, cool, so Rockford, you've got a pair of the AirPods Max. Do you have a song recommendation that you think shows these things off well? Chanmei Jamal, I see you saying you hate how the AirPods Pro sound. Now that's interesting. I think the AirPods Pro are actually a pretty decent sounding true wireless earphone. It's not my favorite. Like, I think the AirPods Pro are a little bit lacking in definition and especially in that treble region. They're a little bit too polite for me in the treble region, but tonally, they're actually not bad. And they've got a nice little sub-bass bump. I don't mind the way the AirPods Pro sound. I think they're pretty good. I don't usually use them for music though, if I'm perfectly honest. Most of my AirPods Pro usage is for podcasts. Sebastian, I see you saying if you use a MacBook and an iPhone, it's hard to give up AirPods, and that is totally true. So yeah, again, I don't really use the AirPods much for music, but around the house, if I'm just, switching from my phone to my iPad to my MacBook, it's a pain in the butt to do that kind of stuff with your typical Bluetooth headphone. Even the Bose, which typically do multi-point pairing better than average, even there it's a little bit funky. And generally, I think you're still limited to 2 products, whereas with something like the AirPods Pro and ostensibly the AirPods Max, you can jump between an unlimited number of Apple products, but you are, of course, limited to Apple products. I think I saw a good question. Why am I comparing them to the XM3s instead of the XM4s? Answer that question is because I own the XM3s. When the XM4s came out earlier this year, I felt like it would have been good for my channel if I bought them and did a review of them. But I also knew that I was basically just going to be spending $350 to be disappointed. So I ended up not spending the $350. I don't have the XM4s. From what I've heard from based on other reviewers that I trust, they do sound a little bit different than the XM3s, but I don't think that they sound significantly different. I don't think they sound significantly different in a way that the AirPods Max just showed me, demonstrated in about 5 seconds. Wara Samir saying, rip Sony. I don't know that Sony necessarily has a lot to be worried about the AirPods Max. I mean, long term, I think they do have a lot to worry about the AirPods Max, but I think short term, it's a $550 product, and until Apple does that move of moving the market's sort of anchored expectations for price, there's still going to be a lot of people buying the Sony XM3s. There's still going to be a lot of people out there just like looking at a product like this and thinking, no, that's not it. But there's a good chance once they hear something like this and they hear the XM3s in comparison, I mean, that's the interesting thing about the XM3s is that a lot of people think that's a really good sounding headphone. But these are people that probably don't have access to a lot of better sounding stuff, right? The Sennheiser HD600s, how many times have you seen these things out in the wild? Not very many. The AirPods Max are gonna be all over the place. And I don't know, if you know somebody that's got a pair of these, I would ask them to spend 10 seconds listening to Abariba Cumbiaremos from Eddie Palmieri, and I think you'll be pretty quickly moved to my position, which is that these things sound better than the Sonys. Wara Samir, so you're asking, do they sound better than the Koss? I can say that these things have more bass than the Koss KSC 75s. Do they sound better? That's a tougher question. Can't tell that in 10 seconds. I see some questions. Did I test Anker's? I have not tested Anker's noise canceling headphones, no. I have a feeling they don't sound like this. Rockford Mita with the other super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you. This is going to sound super Apple sheep, like which I am, and I think we should embrace it. Like, it's fine. Be fair about Apple, but also don't hide from the fact that Apple does a lot of pretty decent things, and there are some benefits to going with Apple stuff. There's definitely some benefits, there's some costs, price-wise and otherwise, for going with the Apple world, but there's definitely some benefits too. Anyway, you were saying the song Hyperspace, the 12 Reveal music really shows off the features of them. Cool, I'll check that out after this. Thank you for that recommendation. In fact, let me take a screenshot of that so that I remember. Bam, screenshotted. Trevor Johnson, you're saying the price definitely has an Apple tax, but for a first try, you're impressed. Interesting to see. Andrew Salinas say you got the space gray. Yeah, I think if I were buying these for myself, like I think I said at the beginning of this video, I went with the green because I think my wife is probably going to be the primary user of this headphone after I'm done reviewing it. And she was most interested in the green. It matches her new iPhone 12. If I were buying them for myself, I'd probably go with the space gray. As boring as a black color is on electronic, like they look pretty good. And I also just got a space gray MacBook, which also looks pretty good. Sunny Woo with the other super chat, appreciate it. Love to see a comparison between the Max and the Beoplay H95. So I don't think I've tried that Beoplay. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to do that comparison. I would love to do that for you, but I'm probably not going to be able to do that. What I will do is I'm going to compare it to the Sony XM3s. I'll spend more time comparing it than 10 seconds. I'll compare it to the Bose noise canceling 700s, as well as I'm going to, it's 550 bucks. So I'm going to compare it to some of my nicer sounding stuff, including the Sennheiser HD 600s, which totally different product category. I get it. But at this price, you're looking for good sound quality. And that, to me, I'm not gonna say it's the best sounding headphone in the world, but it's my personal favorite. PMD the Wizard with, I think, an important objection. Not impressed. For the price, they should have brought the artists you're listening to in front of you to play the song live. I mean, for 550 bucks, you can probably get tickets to a concert to do that if we ever have concerts again. So I see what your point is. Steve Camp asking, do they sound better than the Bose 700s? So I started this video saying I could very quickly tell if they sounded better than the XM3s. And just to remind myself, I spent some time listening to the XM3s this morning with that exact same track, just to have that audio memory. I didn't do the same thing with the Bose 700s, but I do have a decent memory of that, and I'm pretty confident these things sound better than the Bose 700s, but I'm gonna spend a little bit more time answering that question. I mean, my initial impression, look, just first, I don't know, I probably shouldn't make this kind of statement off of literally having listened to this thing for 10 seconds, but my initial impression is that this thing sounds better than any other Bluetooth headphone I've heard, which isn't necessarily a lot. I mean, I've heard the XM3s, I've heard the Bose 700s, I've heard the B&W, I don't even remember the name of it, PX something. I've heard some, I've got the Beats Solo Pros. So I guess I've spent some time with a fair amount of Bluetooth headphones, but on that 10-second listen, this to me seemed to be the pretty significant standout. Kate, I see you asking again about a comparison between these and the Pandas. That will definitely be coming in the review of the AirPods Max, which will be in the future. If you're not already, please subscribe to the channel, Super Review. And then ding the bell. YouTube will let you know next time I go live, which the next live video, probably not gonna be the review of these. I've got another review coming up, which other people are pretty excited about, but this will be coming up very soon. So yeah, subscribe, ding the bell. Again, if you like this video, please hit the like button. I'm gonna go get a drink of water. I appreciate you guys chilling, hanging out with the questions. I'll see you guys on the next Super Review.